Welcome back. In this video I'm actually going to go into editing web pages or assets. Just show you the what you see is what you get editor working, show a few custom properties. So I'm already logged into the website component here, and I'm going to drill into the welcome page and do a little bit of editing. The welcome page is actually made up of a few components here. There's a slider at the top here. There's a few editable areas that actually can be edited in place. And there's some numeric values here that are doing a little bit of JavaScript trickery, that they count up to the number that's been set. So when you're designing your pages and what you make WYSIWYG editable areas and what you make properties and what you make assets, it's important to think about how the user is going to be using the page. Also how you're going to limit the user a little bit, because you don't want the user starting to do all sorts of strange things in your slider with WYSIWYG editing, that kind of stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually do the basic editing of what you see is what you get editing. One area I didn't cover off in the last video in the layout is the actions. Anything you want to do to whatever asset you're on, in this case I'm on the home page, the actions will appear up on the top left here. They're contextual, they'll grey out or hide depending on your permissions. Again, I'm a IBA user, so I've pretty much got permissions to do everything on this particular asset. This is also defined, these buttons are also defined by a workflow, which is a more advanced topic which we'll cover later. So, just out of interest, we'll have a look over here. We've seen we've edited a few versions already. We're looking at the live English one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit, and what you see is a draft gets created. It's very important to understand within the framework the concepts of drafts and published. When you do edit an asset, anything actually in the framework, a draft will be created. This draft is persisted, but it's not ever surfaced onto any application that is pulling only live published assets. Something that's published is immutable, it will never change. You have to create a draft to edit it. Which is quite nice because you can come back to it later, you can work on it and change it, and it's not going to affect the site. When you're looking at a site that can be WYSIWYG edited, little red dashes will appear to show you the editable areas. I mean, these are fully configurable. You can actually change the style to determine how you want the content editable areas to be defined. But it's actually pretty straightforward. To edit, a little typo there as well, so I can just right click on that and correct it. So as you editing, you're actually seeing exactly what is going on. That's true WYSIWYG experience. Gives you a very good idea of what it's going to look like. As I say, you can make these little red dots or red dashes a little less intrusive if you want to by editing your style sheets. So that is editing editable areas. I mean, you can do all sorts of things like put links in. Let's just highlight a link there. Comes with the URL, allows you to browse the whole site or do a search, and you can say link to multi-language. Insert. We'll go over a few more advanced things like why the URL looks like that later on. I mean, it actually translates to a human readable URL in the final site. So we can put links in. We can edit titles. This one is uppercase. I can't do anything about it being uppercase because the style sheet that applies is uppercase in that particular. I just noticed there's a typo there, so I'm going to correct that. So that's editing WYSIWYG. Now I can go off somewhere else if I want to. I'll just leave that. I don't need to press save or anything. Go and look up some other stuff, continue my work. And actually, if I go back onto my website root, it'll actually show me I've got a draft that I'm working on down here, which I click on to go back to, and you'll see that all the edits that I've been working on and the typo corrections are still in place there. I'm actually going to quickly publish this to demonstrate something else before I move on to the other types of edit. So I'm going to publish that. And you notice we put links in here. Now, it's quite clever in that any links that are put in here will work within the admin. So if I click that link now, it goes to multi-language. And I'm back to and I'm back to where I was with the edits here. Versioning, as you can see, versioning is very powerful. You're seeing all sorts of versions here. You also get a little visibility of what you're doing with the timeline here. So there I created an asset. That's when I created this asset and was doing all my talking, that sort of orange area, and then it was published. And you see the versions, the previous versions have died. This is my timeline ticking along on top of the currently published version. And you can see at the top here, and there's something sitting in the system version as well, which will cover, system branch, which we'll cover later on. So let's talk about some other ways of editing. Remember I talked about not wanting people to, well, basically controlling your content editors a little bit. So what we've done here is we've extended this content type to have 3 box values for these values down here. Because what we don't want to do is people putting text in there, links, all sorts of things. Also, I think anything that's non-numeric actually breaks the JavaScript. So we'll talk about extending assets later and adding additional properties in a later video. But it's very straightforward. You do it within the admin. We'll cover it off. So what I'm going to do is now, obviously, you don't need to use the WYSIWYG at all if you don't want to. If you really want to limit people to your exact layout, you don't want them putting all sorts of strange things in there. You can have a completely form-based CMS, and people just fill in the properties, and the properties affect the website. So what I've done is I've put in a couple of values in here. I'm going to put some recognizable changes in. Let's just change all these to thousands here. I'm going to publish that. Now you see those counting and they go to those values. Quite a useful thing to be able to do that. Again, later on in the videos further down, we'll go into how you actually edit the templates to enable to do that. So we then get to the slider here. So the slider's got to be pretty defined HTML to work with the JavaScript, and we want to keep it pretty straightforward. So what we've done is, and this is completely up to the developer, this isn't something that is set. So we create a little folder called slides. It's just basically a folder, and then we created an object type which is a type slide, which has got a copy here, and the copy here. We've got a theme and an image that we upload to. It looks to me like this is sitting in the common, so I'm going to switch to the common branch. Again, don't worry about the branching at the moment, we will cover branching in another video. So I just press edit and edit only in the form. So in the form, and I'm just going to say welcome home up the top here. So I'll just publish that. Go back and look at the welcome page, and you'll see the change has been made in here. I'm actually going to roll that back because that's not really appropriate for this particular thing. So I can go over to my versions tab here, click on the previous version, which is showing me the previous data. I'm going to edit and then publish that. So basically I've taken an archive version, edited it and pushed it back. But it will remember there is an audit trail of all the changes that have gone on in here. So I'll have another quick look and we'll see that it's been rolled back. So that's it for the introduction to WYSIWYG editing and a little bit of property editing. We're going to start doing some more advanced videos after this one. Thank you for watching.